5 female behaviors every Stoic man should understand. Stoic wisdom. A woman once tested a philosopher not with words, but with silence. She wanted to see if his calm was real or performed. Most men fail tests like this without ever knowing a test occurred. Today you will learn to see what other men miss. The Stoics did not study women or men as separate categories. They studied human nature, the patterns beneath behavior, the signals beneath speech, the logic beneath emotion. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a man who understands the nature of things is never surprised by them. This script is not about controlling anyone. It is about removing your own blindness. A man who does not understand the women in his life, his partner, his mother, his colleagues, his daughter, will spend his years reacting instead of understanding. He will be confused when he should be calm. He will be wounded when he should be wise. Before we go further, if you want more scripts like this, built on Stoic philosophy, Jungian psychology, and timeless human wisdom, subscribe to Quotes Library now. This channel exists to help men see clearly in a world built to keep them confused. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next lesson. Now let us begin. Behavior 1. The test. Every woman, at some point, tests the man in front of her. This is not manipulation in the cruel sense. It is an ancient, almost instinctive mechanism for measuring character before investing trust. A woman who has been disappointed before, by a father who left, a partner who lied, a friend who betrayed her, learns that words are cheap. Anyone can say they are loyal, patient, or strong. Few can prove it under pressure. So she creates small pressures. She creates friction. She watches how you respond when things are inconvenient, when she is difficult, when the room is not comfortable. A man without Stoic training sees this friction and mistakes it for hostility. He either collapses, apologizing for things he has not done, bending his values to keep the peace, or he explodes, proving through his temper that he cannot be trusted with hard moments. Both responses fail the same test. The Stoic man understands something different. Epictetus taught that other people's behavior is not within your control, but your response always is. When a woman tests you, she is not asking you to win an argument. She is asking a quiet question beneath the surface. Are you steady, or are you performance? Do you actually possess the calm you claim, or does it disappear the moment something inconvenient happens? The answer is not to avoid the test, and it is not to try to pass it artificially. The answer is to actually become the kind of man whose calm is real. When your peace does not depend on her mood, her words, or her behavior, there is nothing left to test. Tests only work on men who have something to hide. A man rooted in his own principles, his own discipline, his own inner citadel, cannot be shaken by friction, because the friction reveals nothing except what was already true. This is the first shift a Stoic man must make, from resenting the test to understanding its purpose, and from performing strength to actually building it. Behavior 2. Emotional language is information. Many men are taught, directly or indirectly, that emotional expression is irrational, noise to be managed, tolerated, or shut down. This is a costly misunderstanding. When a woman expresses frustration, sadness, or anxiety, she is very often transmitting information, not simply venting chaos. The tone may be heightened. The words may be imprecise. But underneath the delivery is usually a signal about an unmet need, a broken expectation, or a threat she has sensed before you have. The Stoics were relentless about separating the message from the delivery. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that people act according to what seems good to them, based on their perception, and that his task was to understand, not merely to judge. A man who dismisses emotional expression as overreacting trains the woman in his life to stop communicating with him honestly. She does not stop feeling. She simply stops telling him, and begins either withdrawing or expressing herself elsewhere. This is how connection quietly dies, not through a single betrayal, but through 1,000 dismissed signals. The Stoic approach is not to absorb every emotion as your own, nor to fix every feeling immediately. It is to listen for the information underneath the intensity, the way a ship's captain listens for the meaning behind a changing wind rather than resenting the wind for blowing. Ask yourself, when she is upset, what is the actual need behind this? Is it reassurance, respect, to be heard without being corrected? A man who can decode emotional language without being destabilized by it becomes rare, and rare things become valuable. This is not weakness. This is emotional literacy, and it is one of the most underdeveloped skills in modern masculinity. Before we continue to the next 3 behaviors, take a moment and subscribe to Quotes Library. This channel is built for men who want clarity instead of confusion, calm instead of chaos, and wisdom instead of noise. If this is helping you already, the next sections will help you even more. Let's continue. Behavior 3. The search for consistency. A woman does not primarily fall for grand gestures. She falls for pattern. Consistency, more than charisma, is what builds deep trust over time. The same calm on a hard day as on an easy one. The same respect in private as in public. The same word kept whether or not anyone is watching. Inconsistency, even when well-intentioned, reads as danger to the nervous system, because unpredictability has historically meant vulnerability. This is where Stoic discipline becomes directly useful. Seneca wrote that it is not the man who has too little that is poor, but the man who craves more, and this applies equally to emotional steadiness. A man who is warm one day and cold the next, attentive one week and distant the following, is not offering companionship. He is offering a gamble. Women who have been burned by inconsistency before become highly attuned to detecting it early, sometimes testing for it unconsciously through small requests, small delays, small moments of friction, simply to see whether the version of you she met last week is the same version she is speaking to today. The Stoic man builds consistency the same way he builds any discipline, through daily practice rather than mood. He does not decide each morning whether he will be respectful, punctual, honest, or calm. These things are already decided, built into his character through repetition, the way Aristotle described virtue as a habit rather than an act. This is difficult in a culture that celebrates spontaneity and punishes structure, but it is precisely this structure that becomes magnetic. A woman does not need a man to be exciting every day. She needs to know, with quiet certainty, who she is dealing with. Predictability, built on strength rather than dullness, is one of the most attractive traits a man can develop, and one of the least discussed. Behavior 4. Reading what is not said. Much of female communication operates below the surface of literal words, in tone, timing, body language, and what is deliberately left unsaid. This is often dismissed by men as mixed signals, when in reality it is a different communication system entirely, shaped by both instinct and, in many cases, by learned caution around direct confrontation. A woman may not say she is hurt. She may simply grow quieter. She may not say she is losing respect for you. She may simply stop asking for your opinion. The untrained man waits for a direct complaint before he adjusts anything, and by the time it arrives, the distance has often already been building for weeks. The Stoic man trains a different skill, attentiveness. Epictetus taught that we are disturbed not by events but by our interpretation of them, and the reverse is also true. We often miss events entirely because we are not paying attention in the first place. Paying attention to subtle shifts, energy, tone, enthusiasm, eye contact, is not paranoia. It is presence. It is the discipline of actually being where you are, with the person in front of you, instead of half present, half distracted, and then confused when something changes that you never noticed changing. This does not mean becoming anxious or hyper-analytical, chasing every silence for hidden meaning. That is its own kind of imbalance. It means cultivating calm, grounded observation, the same quality a Stoic applies to nature itself, watching without projecting, noticing without inventing stories. A man who reads the unspoken accurately, without overreacting to it, becomes someone a woman does not have to explain herself to constantly. This is a rare form of intimacy, and it is built entirely through attention, which is itself a form of respect. Behavior 5. Withdrawal is a signal, not a punishment. When a woman goes quiet, many men interpret it as punishment, manipulation, or a power move. Occasionally that is true. But far more often, withdrawal is a form of self-protection, a nervous system pulling back because it no longer feels safe to stay fully open. This can happen after repeated disappointment, after feeling unheard, or simply after exhaustion. Withdrawal is rarely the opening move. It is usually the last resort after other signals were missed. The untrained man responds to withdrawal with pressure, more questions, more demands for explanation, sometimes more anger, which only confirms to her that distance was the correct choice. The Stoic man responds differently, not with coldness in return, but with steady presence. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself not to waste the remaining time of his life in agitation over other people's actions. This does not mean ignoring the withdrawal. It means not panicking in response to it, and not turning it into a battle for control. Sometimes the wisest response is simply to remain calm, available, and unshaken, giving space without disappearing, giving patience without begging. There is an old story, told in different forms across the Stoic tradition, about a young officer named Titus who served in the Roman legions. Titus loved a woman named Livia, the daughter of a merchant, who had been betrayed by a previous suitor who promised loyalty and vanished the moment hardship arrived. When Titus first courted her, Livia said very little. She tested him with small delays, watched him during arguments with other men, and once, without explanation, stopped speaking to him for 2 weeks after a minor misunderstanding. Titus was tempted to demand answers, to accuse her of coldness. Instead, he remembered his Stoic training. He continued his own disciplines, his training, his duties, his calm, without chasing her or punishing her silence. He simply remained the same steady man each day, present when she was ready, patient when she was not. When Livia finally spoke again, she told him plainly, "I was not testing your love. I was testing whether you would still be yourself without me watching." Titus realized then that her withdrawal had never been about him at all. It had been about her own fear of being abandoned again. Because he had not collapsed, and had not raged, she finally trusted that he was different from the one who came before. This is the essence of the Stoic response to withdrawal. Not chasing, not punishing, but remaining, steady enough that when someone returns, they return to something solid. Understanding these 5 behaviors will not make you manipulative, and it will not make women predictable puzzles to be solved. It will make you a man who responds with wisdom instead of reaction, who sees signals instead of noise, and who builds trust instead of confusion. This is what Stoic philosophy has always offered, not control over others, but mastery over yourself, which is the only mastery that was ever truly available to you. If this script gave you even one moment of clarity, subscribe to Quotes Library right now. This channel is built for men who are done reacting and ready to start understanding. Stoicism, Jungian psychology, ancient wisdom, applied to real life. Share this with a man who needs to hear it. Leave a comment with which behavior resonated most, and I will see you in the next one. Keep becoming.